Happy Halloween, Mijo podcast. I hope you guys are getting ready to get shit faced this weekend. Nothing is more scarier and spooky than dating, and I thought it was the perfect episode topic to pick for this episode. So thank you guys for joining. We are going to get into it deep and gritty. I'm going to be spilling some secrets, confessing. So, as you can tell, we have our Halloween decor set up, and I'm in my costume. I'm a little cowboy. But I thought, what more fun to have than to make this episode spooky and themed? And I have a little surprise, mostly for myself. But we have with us, joining us as a special guest on today's episode, a Buzzy. Woo, woo, woo. So we're going to take a stab at this Buzzy to loosen up a little bit because, things are going to get interesting today. We're going to talk about a lot of fucked up shit when it comes to dating, and how we spiral and how we live, love, and laugh. But I'm going to open this Buzzy up, and it's the blue one, which I love. I'm going to try to open this with one hand. I feel like it's going to freaking squirt everywhere. It did. I told you. It always does. It always does. All right. I honestly want to chug this like so bad, but I'm going to keep it classy. I'm a classy gal. Oh, it's all over my cue cards. I'm going to keep it classy. I'm going to sip on it like the lovely drink that it is. My hand's like all wet, but it's okay. We're vibing. We're thriving. But anyways, let's talk about it. It's 2020 fucking 5. It is dating, and this dating culture is honestly like horrendous. I am going to say, we now live in a world where meeting someone in person is not common when it comes to dating. We're meeting people online, and the dating apps have come to fuck shit up, ruin our lives, and meeting someone in person now, it's become weird. Like, you don't do it, and you see all these TikToks of people who record people, and then they go on TikTok and they're like, help me find so-and-so, when they were like 5 feet in front of them. But honestly, approaching people has been like something where we get anxious and we get anxiety, and we're no longer like, we just think of rejection. And I think a lot of that has to come with like technology and how social media has become such huge, like, for us, and we live behind these screens now. So like, expectations are high, and I feel like dating apps were created to supposedly like make love be found easier, but it really isn't, because, society has to fuck shit up. But somehow, dating apps have made it harder to connect with people. Like, I'm pretty sure when the first dating app was created, it was pretty much like, you're going to be able to find people that are 5 miles away from you, or whatever you want it to be, and you're going to be able to connect with them and talk with them, and like, you're going to be exposed to more people, because it's like the more people everyone on there is single, etc., etc. But no. So I want to unpack dating, online dating, 2025 dating, and share a little bit about my tea and my drama with dating. So of course, we don't approach people anymore. We swipe. I think that's very common, as I'm struggling. I promise you, this buzz is not hitting me already. I'm not that lightweight. Well, maybe because I haven't eaten before this, but we've honestly turned like human beings into profiles. I feel like now you can literally say that we profile people. We judge people based off of the pictures that they have, the bio, the emojis that they select, the things that they're into, whether it's like their like sports and like whatever, everything that's on that profile, like, that's how we judge a person. And we have honestly come to this culture where it's like, I feel like most of the times, if I'm being frank, people are judging the profiles based off of the physical attraction of someone, like how someone looks, not so much about their qualifications. And I also feel like there's only so much that you could learn about someone in a profile. So it's like hard for you to really, like, you have to pick your best photos, right? And some people are not photogenic, some are. But not only that, like, some apps have like bio limits. So it's like, now you have to try and fit your whole entire life into this bio. What do you put? What do people want to know? Because sometimes people want to know deep things, like the deeper level. Sometimes people want to just know like surface level. So it's like, who really are you targeting your profile to, if everyone's really looking at it? And I really feel like we obviously say that we want connection, but we're kind of afraid of real connection because I constantly see on the dating apps that a lot of the times people are putting like, oh, looking for like deep connection or looking for like intimacy and like I'm really looking for building something with someone. But I feel like a lot of the times that's not true. And I think a lot of it, especially with the connection part, it's like, are we really looking for connection? Because if we were looking for connection, we would go out and we would look for it in person, not so much behind a screen. And I feel like genuinely the reason why we don't do that is because everyone's scared of rejection and vulnerability. Like, we're scared of going up to someone and saying, like, hey, I think you're attractive. Can I buy you a drink? Do you want to go dance? Like, can I get your Instagram, your phone number? Like, we're scared of no. And I really feel like that's kind of like what has created this culture of people only referring to the dating apps because if you swipe and it doesn't match, you're going to live. Nothing's going to happen. But if you're at a bar and you come up to someone and they say no, now you have that social anxiety of everyone saw this. What the fuck? I need to leave. Like everything runs through your head, right? And I also feel like back in the day, it was common, right? Like I'm pretty sure that's how our parents, how our grandparents, how our aunts and uncles met, right? Like at a club. I know my parents met in high school. My aunt met my uncle at a club. He came up to her, like bought her a drink, and she was pissed because like she was there with someone else, and this whole other thing. So it's like we hear these stories and we're so amazed and we're in love and we want that, right? Because we don't have that. We're kind of like deprived from that. But yet we don't go out and do that. And I think a lot of it is because of how social media has messed us up. Like a lot of us are insecure because we constantly see a life that we're supposed to live that's not even real because people edit these videos that we consume and all this content that we consume. But I feel like dating apps have also created this sort of feeling of like someone's better. Like, they kind of all this swiping has made it so that we kind of feel like there's, a never ending swipe, right? It's you come across this profile and you're like, oh my God, they're so cute. But then you're like, I'm going to come across someone cuter. Swipe, 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 swipe. So it's like you always think that there's someone better. And a lot of the times it's because, the person you're swiping on, you're like, whatever, mid, swipe. And then you're like, next person, you're like, ooh, this person's better. And then you're like, ooh, this is better. And now we're getting somewhere. So we've kind of like wired our brains to think that there's someone better one swipe away or on the other side of that profile. And we're just kind of like swiping, 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 swiping. And I think that's also what has kind of created like, these monsters on these dating apps that are afraid of commitment. Because I feel like a lot of times people are, they're like, there's someone better. And they just like give up and they throw in the towel. And we've kind of lost the patience of getting to know someone and working with someone because let's be honest, like we're all human. We all have mistakes. We all have flaws. No one's perfect. But I really feel like now, like people are really just like, F it. Like, I'm not going to deal with this. This is too much. And it's to an extent, right? Because, if there's crazy shit that you're dealing with, like, baby, out of there. But I feel like sometimes there's just like simple things that, they're normal in a relationship. And I feel like relationships are now glorified and we see it on TikTok with all the reels and stuff. And my therapist always reminds me like, not everything you see online is real. She's like, you could be seeing like all your friends in relationships. She's like, but you're only seeing what they want you to see. And you're only seeing what they're making public. You're not seeing what's happening behind doors. She's like, so yeah, while all your friends may be cuffed up, maybe some of them are not even living the healthiest relationships that you think they are. She's like, so you really shouldn't feel bad for being alone if you really don't know the relationship that everyone's living. She's like, and we live in such a world where everyone is afraid of being alone. So they rather like take people's crap than like, move on and really look for what they're worth and like someone that will treat them well. But honestly, like, I can't remember. Well, I actually can. Never mind. The question that I was going to say is, like, when was the last time that, like, you met someone naturally? Like, where it happened naturally, you were at a cafe, you were, like, I don't know. Like, I think for me, the last time I met someone naturally was last weekend at a club. But, like, aside from, like, the club, the last time I met someone naturally was 2 years ago, December at Marshall's. And I'm not gonna get into that. But yeah, so I feel like for me, dating is definitely complicated. And I don't think it's complicated because of like the relationship part of it, but I think it's, for me personally speaking, like I think my dating life is complicated because of the position that I am in life, like where I'm at in life, and I think that's what makes dating for me complex. And let me take a little chug before I start spilling all these frijoles. Mm-mm-mm. That's good right there. That's glacier water, y'all. Love it. So I feel like for me, I struggle with dating because of like where I'm at in life. And basically, to summarize it, is I have an education, so I have a degree, which is not so common anymore. Like it's common, but there's, at least like for me, like the city that I grew up in and like, my hometown, like people that I know from there, a lot of people didn't go to college. So there's a lot of people that I went to high school with that didn't pursue higher education, didn't pursue a trade school or like any type of, thing after high school. So for me, it's like I have an education, I have a career, which I have an early career. I actually started my career when I was in college. So when I graduated college, I already had my corporate level job, and I've already done the promotions, and I'm like three steps above like what your entry level would be. Um, I have my own place, like I live on my own. I have my own little apartment, and I'm proud of it. Don't get me wrong, like I'm proud of everything, and it's been like such a hustle to get where I'm at now. And I'm so proud of it, and I'm so grateful for the opportunities. And it's really just been like a lot of hustle and bustle. And that's a topic for a whole nother episode, how I got there and sharing that with you guys. But I feel like the challenge for me with this is that when I date people my age, a lot of the times it starts off good, but then quickly it doesn't go well. And what I mean by that is like a lot of the times me having, all these great things about me are what interests people in me. Like, people, when I go on dates, they hear that I have my own place and that I have a career and, that I graduated college, and they love all of that about me. But once we kind of start talking and, once things like start heading more towards seriousness, I don't even think that's a word, but like once they start getting a little more serious, people either get insecure about where I'm at in life, or they get jealous, or they simply just get overwhelmed with like everything that my life is. And I think sometimes people get insecure because they feel like they aren't enough for me, which is not the case. I never make anyone feel that way, and I never want to make anyone feel that way. And I clearly communicate that, but it's inevitable, right? Like if you're with someone who has, an education and has a career and has their own place, and you're still in your process, it makes you insecure. And I've had experiences before where I've talked to people, and as we're talking in the talking stages, like they get very insecure about where they are in life, and they just feel like they're not enough. And I understand that. And some people, have more of like that, masculine mentality where they feel like they have to be a provider, and I get that. But I do also come across people that get very jealous. There's people that are jealous, and they'll start like throwing little comments here and there, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that was a little messy. Like, where's this energy coming from? And then there's just people that are overwhelmed. Like, we all process things differently. And there's people that once they kind of like get into the groove of my life, like they're overwhelmed. And, my position at work is pretty much like a 24/7 position. So there's times where I have to pick up the phone and just start working in the middle of where I'm at. Right. And I'm with my work phone at 24/7 at all hours. And a lot of times that's a little overwhelming for people. And I think in general, like I'm just such an extroverted person that I can be a little too much sometimes when it comes to like, my personality and my energy. And then you top like all these other like hustle and bustle things on top of it. And I get it, that's not for everyone. And it's not to say that like I'm gonna change who I am for someone. It's just I'm not for that person. So I think this is the reason why sometimes I tend to lean towards like the older crowd because I find more things in common with them. But then that's a problem within itself. I think I think sometimes, I tend to blend better with like the older crowd because I'm around a lot of older people at work. And I've gone on dates with people who are older than me. And, I've been exclusive with people who are older than me. And you quickly find out why someone older than you is open to dating the younger crowd. So it's kind of like what I'm experiencing, but flipped. And what I mean by that is like a lot of these older folks that are willing to date someone that's younger, whether it be like 5, 10 years younger than them, you realize why people their age aren't dating them. And a lot of times it's because they're, you know, immature. They haven't grown up. They still think they're like in high school, college. Or there's some older folks that just are afraid of commitment and they just don't want commitment. And I feel like a lot of the times when that happens, people their age, of course, aren't going to date them because if you're immature and if you're at an age where you're ready to settle and you have someone that's playing these like high school games, like, time is ticking, time is gold for you. So you're like out the window. But then also you run across these older individuals that are afraid to commit for some reason. And a lot of the times they're in the age where they should start committing and they should start settling. And I know that looks different for everyone, like some people want kids, some people don't, la la la. But I feel like a lot of times that's the crowd that I tend to like come across whenever I'm dating older folks. And it makes sense, right? So I feel like I'm kind of placed in this awkward like middle position where I'm too mature to date people my age, but then I come across immature people that are older than me that are like willing to date someone younger. And not to say that there isn't someone out there or that there isn't success stories out there. Like, of course there is. Like, I know people who have an age gap. Like, I know people who, have their life together and are dating someone their age. Like, I'm constantly aware of it, but I'm just saying like overall, like there's not that much luck out there with that, especially when you're sourcing it on dating apps. And I've just learned sometimes that like a lot of the times people they portray their insecurities onto you. Like a lot of the times it's not really that I have a career or an early career, it's that they're insecure about where their career is going or they're insecure about school and they're thinking about do I want to do this, like the pressure and all of that. And I feel like a lot of the times that's what's going through people's heads. And, not everyone's a fan of therapy and not everyone has access to therapy. So a lot of the times they don't know how to deal with that. And I think that's what comes in between that. And by all means, like I've always, said this to like my friends, family, and coworkers. And I've never said it like publicly like this in front of cameras, but I want to clarify, it's not that I think I'm better than anyone. I just think that like, I'm in a different season for people my age. And I don't want anyone watching this to feel like they should be at a certain point in life and compare themselves to me because that's not true whatsoever. Life happens and you are exactly where you're meant to be. I genuinely just feel like sometimes life works differently for us, right? And I had the privilege to really focus on my career and focus on internships, volunteering, and school and jobs. And I had the privilege to work towards all of that. And thankfully, when I got a job, it's not because I needed a job, it's because I wanted a job. And, I was very invested in wanting something bigger and better for myself. And I can talk about a whole different episode about this, but I really don't want anyone to like feel the pressure of comparing themselves because let's be honest, people my age are barely graduating college, are still in college, are working service jobs and they're still where they're meant to be because that's where the general people my age are, right? And there's days where I'm like, you know what, fuck this. Like I should be working at like a cafe, clocking out and like forgetting about work. But it's just the ups and downs of life. And I feel like a lot of the times, like there's days 100% where I'm like, I wish I was just a normal 22-year-old. And then there's days where I'm like, I'm so grateful for where I'm at. And I'm forever going to be grateful about that. But I feel like those are the struggles that I deal with. And I feel like, whew, that was a lot. I totally skipped over a whole cue card. Look at me go, you guys. Everyone's going to be like, you need to drink more when you like come on this episodes. Mm, 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 mm. I really want to chug this because I'm like allegedly one to drink that in one sip, but we're classy today, not trashy. But yeah, so I really feel like that's kind of like my dating life summed up. Not all of it, just a little bit of it. But I wanted to take some time to be a little cheese with you guys, give you guys a little good cheese. For those of you that don't know, cheese is cheese, man. And I want to tap in a little bit into my last situationship that like drew me like almost off the fucking face of the universe. But yes, so my last situationship was crazy because like I just mentioned, I'm in a position where I have a career, I have a my own place, I have an education, and I've never come across anyone like that my age, and it could be because of where I'm located and the people around me, on the apps, and I also keep my distance very short because I ain't gonna be driving no 1 hour to go see you, boo boo, no. So yeah, so several reasons, right? But I had my first experience coming across someone who was in my age group in the same situation that I was in. Because typically, like, I'll come across like people who are like 25, 26, the youngest. Most of them are like late 20s or like 28, 29. Some are like 30, 32, and that's where I cut it off. But I met someone who was 23. So, 1 year older than me. I'm turning 23 this month, actually. So, yeah, so I met someone who was 23 who had a career, understood all my corporate talk and what it is to be young in the corporate world, lived on his own. We had a lot of similarities when it came to like, family and, things that we went through growing up. And we connected, we bonded over that, like over not literally one of our first few text messages was like, holy shit, like I know exactly what you mean, and I've never come across someone like this. So we went on a date. He asked me out on a date, and I said yes because I was like interested in him, and I was like, I admired like everything that he had going for him. And we went on a date. We had a really great first date, I will say. He was very romantic. It was this really nice, like, ooh, is he breaking down? Anyways, really nice, like, Italian place that we went to. He brought me flowers. It was like all the 2 cents. It was beautiful, right? We had such a great conversation. We were talking about like childhood and like all the questions that you ask like on the first date, like how many siblings do you have? Where did you grow up? Blah, 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 blah. All of that. So I remember like one of the questions he asked me was like, what's your attachment style? And I was taken back because I was like, holy shit, someone's asking me about my attachment style? To me, at that time, I was like, he's emotionally mature. Like, he's emotionally intelligent. He knows, and I was like taken back, and he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, kind of like, you don't have to share if you don't want to. And I was like, no, like I've just never been asked anything like that. And I was like, I'm in therapy, so I know exactly what this is. And I took a few psychology classes. So like, I know a little bit about this, right? And I'm like, so I kind of like geeked out for a bit. And then he was like, wait, I'm in therapy too. So we just started talking a little bit about like why we were in therapy and, our upbringing. And, I'm an anxious attachment style, and so was he. So we bonded over that. And we just had such a great time. And, he was very much talking in future tense, like, oh yeah, like the next date that we have. And I was like, oh, okay. Fast forward, by the end of the night, he walks me to my car and he's like, will you go on a second date with me? Like, I really enjoyed my time with you and I want to get to know more of you. And I said, yeah, like, duh, he's handsome. He has life together. We had a good time. Of course. So we go on the second date. It was amazing. We go on a third date. Amazing. And we're just like vibing, right? And we're talking and, we're texting every day and yada, yada. And then at one point, I remember he was like, hey, like, is everything okay between us? Like, I just want to make sure everything's good. He's like, maybe I'm overthinking or I'm overreacting or I'm reading too much into it. He's like, I just want to make sure we're good. He's like, and if you're not feeling this anymore, like, it's fine, right? And I responded and I told him, I was like, this is like, it's funny that you bring this up. I was like, because I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, and I was waiting for us to see each other in person again to have that conversation. But I'm like, everything's fine with me. Like, I was over here thinking the same thing about you. And I was like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm great. Like, I want to keep getting to know you. And I'm having a good time. And I just wanted to make sure everything's fine. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Fast forward like a fucking week or like a few days after that, the heifer comes to me and is like, I'm sorry, but I just don't feel a connection. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, huh? And he's like, yeah, like I just like, I'm sorry. Mind you, this was like, he had gone MIA for like a whole day. And I was just kind of like, whatever. I'm at a point where I'm not trying to read too much into things and I'm trying to let things happen naturally. He had gone missing for like a whole day and he pops up the next day trying to talk about like, oh my God, like I was just so busy and like I had to wake up and I just sent him a text and I was like, look, like, what's up? Like, you're in this or not? Like, I'm not here to waste my time. And that's not like what I told him, but I was basically told him like along the lines of saying like, hey, like, if you no longer want to pursue this, like, that's fine. Let me know. And he just came clean and he was like, hey, like, I'm sorry, but I don't feel a connection and you're an amazing person and you deserve the best, but I don't feel a connection. And I said, that's fine, because the person that I am, like, I'm not going to force anyone to be with me at all. And I'm one where it's like, come to me direct and show up as you are, and we'll be fine with that. It ended there. Might have spiraled for like a day. Might have like gone to therapy and like been like, I'm gonna air this shit out. But I didn't. I kept it cordial. My therapist helped me get through it. And I feel like a lot of the times, it's difficult because, a lot of the times you try to put yourself out there. And my therapist is always telling me, like, put yourself out there and show up as you are. Don't change who you are. Like, you want someone to love you for who you are. And I really did that. And especially I did that this time because, I really admired this person for like what they had to bring to the table. And sometimes you just don't have control over what happens and you can't control other people's emotions. And you know, you kind of just have to let it be. And it's hard. You have to have communication. You have to have patience, clarity. You have to have consistency because you want someone that's consistent. And that's how that ended. And, it's hard to like close another attempt and have it not be successful because it makes you doubt yourself 110%. But you just have to get back up and keep trying and keep trying. And I really think that it's become exhausting to try and build something genuine with someone, especially in this culture of like, I like to refer to it as like kind of the same thing as fast fashion, where it's like swipe, swipe, swipe. Because the dating apps have honestly like become a game. Like everyone's just freaking swiping. And I think for me, not only do I have like all that in mind, what I just shared with you guys, like career and place and all that, like I think for me it's also a little more complex because I really date with intention. And I feel like for me, dating is something that's very serious and it's something that I take seriously. And I date with the intention of long term and the intention of marriage. I will not date someone if I don't think they meet that standard, right? That's the reason why you talk with someone and you get to know someone and you go through the talking stage and the exclusive stage because you learn about each other at that time. But I feel like if I date someone, it's because I can see a future with them, right? And I think when I start dating someone or when I start talking to someone and I go on a date, like I ask myself, like, can I trust this person? Am I comfortable bringing this person around my friends and family? And when the time is appropriate, having them meet my family and friends? Can this person be the man that I want to marry? Can this person be the father of my children? Like, those are questions that I ask myself as things get closer to like making it official and dating and being like, in a relationship. Um, and for me, I think it's different because I don't understand this culture of like dating for fun, short term dating. Like, I don't get it. And it's a lot of it's because I'm an old soul, and I hear this a lot, but I'm really just like old school in some ways. And I feel like for me, it's like if I'm going to date you, it's because I'm okay with blinking and spending the next like 10, 20, like the rest of my life with you, right? And I feel like a lot of the times we see where people date for fun and they end up getting used to each other and they just stick it out and write it out because they're like, fuck it, 5 years have gone by. Like, we're just going to keep going. And I feel like that's how people live these unhappy lives. And I feel like that's my greatest fear. My greatest fear is dating someone and then blinking and 2 years went by, 5 years go by, 10 years go by, and then I'm stuck in a relationship that I got into just for fun or just for the fucks of it. That's my greatest fear. So I always try to date with intention and I always ask myself those questions. And if I don't feel confident in that person, I write it out and I let them, show themselves to me. And then if I still don't feel confident, then I let it go because I feel like it's something that's not fulfilling me and it's not fulfilling, the life I want to live and the future that I have for myself. And I think for me, a lot of the things that I ask myself is like, does this person have an education? Does this person have a career or do they have ambitions of a career? Like I try to ask myself those questions because if I'm able to bring that to the table, why don't I deserve that? And why can't I ask for of that from the other person? And I think that's really, really important because, like I said, a lot of people love all those characteristics about me and they're mesmerized by them. And it's what caused them to me. But at some point, you have to also value your worth and say, well, if I'm able to provide all of this for you, I would like it in exchange. And you shouldn't feel selfish for that. Like if you're able to provide that, you should be able to seek it in return. And yes, it creates a high standard for me and it sets the bar high. And a lot of my friends and family have always told me it's because you have high standards. But genuinely, like I feel, and I mean, it may sound selfish, but I feel like if I'm able to bring that to the table, why can't I ask for that? And why don't I deserve that? Those are conversations that I have with myself. And I say, I want someone that's educated. I want someone that has a career or that's working towards a career because I understand that for my age, I'm a little bit ahead of the game. But if you're in school and you have conversations and you get to know someone and you learn that like, they talk a lot about like where they want to go and you can tell that they're ambitious and they're motivated. Like that's all I need to hear. Because if I trust that you can get yourself there, then I know that you're on the right path. But when I come across people that are like, oh yeah, I'm working at the Starbucks and it's whatever. I mean, it pays okay. Like it's fine. And then I'm like, oh, are you in school? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, like, are you going to go to school? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, what, are you going to do trade school or something? Like, is there like, and they're like, no, I'm living in the moment and I'm living in life. That's just not for me. And that's fine. Life happens. I understand everyone's circumstances are different. And honestly, like everyone's allowed to live life the way that they want to live. And I'm not here to judge anyone, but it's not for me and it's not what I want. And I have the right to also say, I know what I want and I know what I deserve because it's what I'm able to bring to the table and match that energy. So it's time for another drink. Sorry, I got distracted over here. Drink o'clock. They reminded me. That's some good stuff right there. But yes, some people think that I'm too serious when it comes to dating. Some people think I'm exaggerated. The bar's too high. I have high expectations. But I feel like it's self-respect. Because I'm not going to lie, I've been there and I've put myself through lowering the standard for someone. Regardless, it's not going to fulfill me. And honestly, regardless, they're going to do you dirty. I'm sorry to break it to you, my love, but it's like if you're dating, like date with good intentions. And manifest what you want in life. Because if you don't manifest that, I believe in manifestation. But yeah, that's me. Um, I made this comment for myself because I knew I was going to forget. But I want to talk about dating apps again. And I want to talk about how much of a mess they are. Because honestly, I feel like dating apps, it's become this culture of like, you're swiping, you're swiping, you're swiping, you match, you say, hey, and then you either don't get a response, or when you get a response, they disappear, right? So I feel like we're in this culture of like, hey, and then it's like you don't hear back. Or it's like, what's your favorite color? Like the amount of times I've had to tell people what my fucking favorite color is, like Jesus fucking Christ, it's blue and fucking olive green, you guys, and sage green. Okay? If you're watching this episode, it's blue, like a denim blue, like the blue that's on my freaking couch right now. It's olive green and it's sage green. Those are my favorite fucking colors because I don't want to tell another man what my fucking favorite color is. I'm a middle child. I have an older brother and a younger sister. I grew up in Southeast LA. Like, what else do you want to know, right? And I feel like a lot of the times, like, these dating apps are so fucked because I'm going to take a little sip before I say this because I might get canceled. Don't get me started on couples that are on dating apps. What the fuck? Pause. Don't get me wrong. I'm a very progressive person. I feel like everyone is allowed to live the life they want to live. But you stingy motherfucker, if you already have a man, why are you out here trying to take another one off the streets? That's my problem. I don't care what you do. If it fuels you, it fuels you. It sure don't fuel me. But every time I come across a couple on a dating app, I'm like, you stingy motherfuckers. There's already two of you and you want more. Leave some for the rest of us. Like, we're already fighting for our lives on these like horrible apps. But it's you come across things like that, right? Where it's like, you get love bombed, someone's like mesmerized by you, and then all of a sudden they're like, I'm sorry, I just, you're beautiful, you're the most amazing person I've ever met, but I think there's someone better. And it happens. It happens. It's happened to me a lot where a lot of the times like the people are in love with, everything I have to offer, but then once it gets serious, they become insecure about that and they love bomb. Oh, the liquor. But yes, I genuinely feel like commitment is fading. I feel like everyone is looking for connections and looking for deep, intimate, like long-term relationships, but no one has the accountability to do their part. I feel like you have to do your part. If you're not into someone, don't love bomb them. Like, don't swipe right if you had to second guess it. Don't keep the conversation going if you're second guessing it. Don't take someone on a date and make it like a whole movie if you are not sure about it. Go on a coffee date. Like, go do something casual. But I really feel like we need to have accountability, hold ourselves accountable, and really just stop fucking with people because it's getting out of hand. We're more connected than ever with social media technology, but we are also more lonelier than ever as a generation. Hear that again. We're more connected than ever, but we're more lonelier than ever. We have all this technology at our fingertips, all these dating apps, all these connections, but in reality, the only thing they're making us is lonelier. So this is my call to you to go out there, put yourself out there. This is your sign to take up that invitation to go to the bar, to go to the club. If you're going to study, instead of studying at home, go to a cafe, sit there, do your homework, do your work there, go to a park, get out. And I know it's so hard and I know it's so easy to say. I often have these conversations with myself and my therapist reminds me all the time. Put yourself out there. If you're not putting yourself out there, no one's going to come knocking on your fucking door and be like, hey, I want to date you. Go to the fucking Marshalls and walk down that aisle so that guy can come up to you and terrorize you for the rest of your life. But genuinely, like, we have to put ourselves out there, you guys. And I love seeing all these like cafeton events that are going on where they're doing like DJ sets with coffee. I fucking love it because that's what our generation needs and that's what our generation craves. Spaces where we can come together, something that is not trying to fucking sell us, because everything's like become a culture of capitalism, and our generation just wants spaces where we can spend no money to less money and have a good time, connect with people our age. And I feel like that's what we want. I know we're going to work on that here at the Mijo Podcast HQ. So stay tuned for that. But at the end of the day, I hope I don't sound bitter. I'm not bitter at all. I'm hopeful. I still, it's hard. I have my days, especially after trying over and over again. I definitely have my days. Therapy has helped a lot. There's days where I just want to be like, fuck it. I'm just going to sell myself to God and become a nun. Just keep going. Have faith in yourselves. Don't ever change who you are for a man or a woman or they, them. Be yourself, because you're never too much for the right person. And the only thing you're doing by staying with the wrong person is keeping yourself from being with the right person and experiencing the life you're meant to live. Manifest what you want. Call it into your life. I feel like love is still out there. I feel very hopeful. I sound stupid as fuck right now, but it's not one swipe away. It's genuine connections that we need to be focusing on. And maybe I'm just old fashioned. I know I'm old school and I know I'm well above my age and people call me, old and shit, but I really believe in that old-fashioned connection, love. And I know a lot of us do, because I see it on TikTok all the time. People are on there making these little fucking reels talking about, I'm old school, I was born in the wrong generation. We need to go out there and we need to flood these streets, go to these parks and have these picnics and stuff. So if you're dating right now, don't lower your standards. Stay strong. The right person is not going to be intimidated by you. They're going to be infatuated by you. And you're supposed to grow together. You're supposed to experience the ups and downs of life together, because that's what brings you closer and helps you really just carry that bond with that person. And if you're dating, give it some time. Be patient. Go into it with no expectations. Have fun. Loosen up on the first date. Really let yourself go through, because it's going to let you weed through the people that you don't deserve faster, but it's also going to get you closer to what you're calling for. And look for people that are going to match your energy and someone that's going to be an addition to your life and not take things away from you. So with that being said, I'm going to finish my buzzball. My sombrero. Happy Halloween. Go slut it out this weekend. I know I will, allegedly. Have a happy Halloween, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the video. If you stayed to the end, I love you so much. Thank you. Follow us on Instagram. We are going to have some amazing stuff coming to you guys soon. More episodes, some events. A lot of great stuff is coming your way. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, go find love. Bye.